Thank you, Sam. Now, a hugely controversial Labour Party scheme to give asylum seekers first dibs on newly built council houses has caused a backbench revolt and a huge storm of controversy that could force Sir Keir Starmer into his 15th U-turn. Well, joining me now in the studio is GB News chief political correspondent Catherine Forster, and one of those Labour rebels who doesn't like this idea whatsoever. That's the Labour Party MP for Blackley and Middleton South. That's Graham Stringer. Welcome to you both. It's always a pleasure to have your company, Graham. Catherine, let's start with you. This isn't the first time we've heard this story. It came to light a few weeks ago. There's a pilot area in 5 areas, a pilot scheme. It could be up to 200 areas, but it's obviously going down, let's be frank, like a cup of cold sick with the electorate.
Yes, of course it is, because we've got a housing crisis in this country. Young people can't afford to get on the housing ladder. There's, I think, 1.3 million families on social housing waiting lists. But the government is desperate to get illegal migrants out of hotels, out of houses of multiple occupation, out of army barracks, wherever they're put. People are unhappy. So this pilot scheme is looking at funding either refurbished or new council houses. And you can imagine how that's going to go down with locals who will feel that foreign people who've broken into the country are being prioritised ahead of British people. That's what the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, has said. Government so weak, putting illegal migrants ahead of our own citizens.
When you look at the metrics, the pilot areas, Brighton and Hove, Hackney, Peterborough, Thanet and Powys in Wales, and then look at the counterpoint, there are 1.3 million families on social housing waiting lists. That's a 3% year-on-year rise in some areas. In Glasgow, it's over 100 years. You'd be dead before you got anywhere near a family home of 3 bedrooms, because Glasgow's become the asylum capital of the United Kingdom because of its propensity to accept asylum seekers in. And it's just, it underlines the fact that Britain isn't working for taxpayers.
Well, these people have got to be put somewhere. And while the government are all very keen to talk about the things that they're doing and how many people they're deporting, the fact of the matter is that currently there is no effective deterrent to prevent people coming across the English Channel, because there's no third-party processing. You almost certainly get to stay. People see us, as the French repeatedly tell us, as a soft option. So until that's addressed, it's hard to see how this will change. And wherever you put these migrants, locals are going to be up in arms. That's just the plain fact of the matter.
Okay, I'm joined in the studio by Graham Stringer, Labour MP. Graham, you've spoken out against this scheme. You've called it unacceptable, and probably that's what you can say. I bet your electorate have said things much fruitier than that about it.
They almost certainly have, and one or two of them to me, they can't believe it, that this is happening. There is a scarcity of council houses. One of the facts that is rarely pointed out when we look at the number of houses that have been built over the last 10 or 15 years, and the government's trying to up that, the number of houses in the private sector has remained almost exactly the same. It's council houses, housing associations that haven't been built. So there is a dreadful shortage of them. But it's the wrong priority, quite simply. We should be prioritising people who've paid their taxes, who've been born and live here. And the people who are coming over in boats, and I particularly point to them, they're arriving undocumented. And it is unlawful to come into this country if you've not got documents, and they get around that by immediately claiming asylum. They've been through a lot of countries where they've had to have papers to get through the borders, and the only reason that they're getting into the country is the Attorney General says you've got to follow the European Convention on Human Rights, and then they go through a process and they're here, whether in hotels, army camps, houses. It's costing a great deal of money, and it shouldn't be. We should get out of those conventions and stop people and say, no, you're not coming. Final point I would make is in terms of the pull factor coming to this country, you can imagine what the criminal gangs are saying. Go to England, go to the United Kingdom, and you'll get a new house to live in.
Yeah.
I mean, that is increasing the pull to this country. And until we get down to the fundamentals, this isn't going to be sorted and people are going to be very angry.
I think you're exactly right. And I also think the fact that it's a new house is the thing that's really kind of tipped the balance against the government here. It's one thing to be put in a hotel, a barracks, or some kind of dispersal centre, but to be given a new build, this is the stuff of dreams for British taxpayers.
Yeah, it's adding insult to injury. I mean, I don't believe people who've come here undocumented should get into public sector housing anyway. But as you say, it's adding insult to injury. So you're saying British homes for British people? I wouldn't use that slogan particularly, because many people live here who are not UK citizens who have the perfect right to stay here. So there could be a U-turn on this. There seems to be a backbench brewing rebellion, and time again we're hearing this now on the refusal to cut benefits, on the feeling that asylum seekers' human rights come before those of British taxpayers. Could there be a U-turn on this policy? I hope so. And I think there may well be. The leadership of the Labour Party in this government seem to have lost the fundamentals. I'd ask them, the MPs, would they put new council houses for asylum seekers on their election addresses? My guess is they wouldn't, and neither would anybody else. But if they don't put it on their election addresses, the opposition certainly will. So I mean, in the crudest political sense, it's a vote loser, but in principle and morally, it's not right either. Graham Stringer, thank you for your opinions. Please stick with us. Let's get to my next guest now, and I'm joined by the veteran Gary Doyle, who has had trouble finding housing and now suffers from mental health issues. Gary Doyle, thank you for joining us. As I always say, thank you for your service in serving your country. Your story is very, very moving. You found yourself evicted from your house, and then you found yourself, down at heel. Tell us your story and how you came into that predicament.
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GB News in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called Custom Removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
Yeah, we just woke up one morning. I was in a veterans accommodation. It was run by a company called MySpace, and then it got took over by another company called Qualitas, and we just got a letter through the door one morning to say you've got a certain amount of days to leave. So we were all stuck at that point, and we didn't know what to do.
And at that point, presumably you ended up on the streets. What happened next? I
didn't end up on the streets, no. We stayed there, but a charity called Op Fortitude got in touch with me and helped me, and they moved me. I've got family in Liverpool, you see. I was born here. So they moved me to Liverpool, but there's a brilliant charity help veterans here called Launchpad, and I've been with them since October last year, and I'm currently with them now, living in Liverpool.
Gary, God bless them for stepping in and doing you that charity and saving, your circumstances. But Gary, may I ask you, when you hear about politicians having this idea that they should give newly built council houses to asylum seekers, some of whom may come into this country on dinghies. How does that make you feel?
Outraged. It's disgusting. We don't even know who they are. When they're coming over there, they're not even tagged or anything. They're roaming the streets. They could be using any identity or whatever. It's not just veterans who need housing. Everyone needs, a lot of people need housing. Do you know what I mean? There's struggling families who are like single parents who are struggling, young parents who can't get on the property ladder need housing. There's no way. They're just coming over and they're getting everything handed into them, because it is. That's exactly what's happening. We don't know who they are. And there's been a lot of cases. I went to Leeds the other week to meet a friend, and I've gone to see my mum and that lot. And I've gone to a place in Leeds called Cross Gates, and there's a hotel there, a Britannia Hotel, and it's riddled with them all. And they've been harassing the local girls there and everything. It's disgusting.
So, Gary, clearly your passions are running high, and who can blame you? Do you get feelings sometimes, and let's be blunt here, Gary Doyle, that we seem to have a government, and perhaps not just this one, perhaps the previous one too, they seem to put the human rights of asylum seekers and those who come to this country illegally above the human rights of people like you, and above the human rights of the people in those communities that you say are now afraid of the situation they're living in?
You know what's happening in it, Labour? It's the voters, in it. They're more interested in the voters, and guess who's the voters, in it. I mean, who's voting for Labour? So yeah, it's getting dangerous now. It's getting too dangerous. Me being an ex-British soldier, I'm worried as well. I'm like, because we don't know what's going to happen. They're coming in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and we aren't safe. We don't know who they are. They're roaming the streets. They're not abiding by the law. Some are general asylum seekers, don't I mean, and need support, but not a minority of them aren't. It's getting too dangerous now. Something's going to happen.
Gary, may I ask you one final question? I ask this to a lot of people who served in the armed forces who come onto my shows, and that is, you're prepared to pay the ultimate sacrifice by serving your country. How do you feel about your country now?
Since I've left the army, I have been let down, job-wise as well. They aren't looking after us at all. We're lucky we've got charities like Launchpad who's looking after me now. Otherwise, we'd be screwed. But it's just bad. I'm going on the housing list now, but I don't know how long I'm going to be waiting for, but lucky enough, I'm allowed to stay here for 2 years. And plus, this place helps you get work and helps you. There's lads here who struggle with mental health as well as alcoholism and drug addictions, and they get counselling. They're brilliant with them. But I'm in university. I'm in university in Manchester, so I've got to commute twice a week. But they help me here with that and stuff, so I'm all right. And plus, I drive, so I'm okay. But it's just, I'm worried about finding somewhere. Where am I going to be in the future? Because this had a really big, me getting evicted from Bolton, it had a really big impact on my uni work and that lot. I missed loads of assignments. I've had to resit my year in university because of it. Because I couldn't do my work. My mental health went down the pan as well. I ended up in hospital over it with my mental health. But yeah, it's just worrying times.
Gary,
it's disgusting. Disgusting.
Gary, we have to move. Oh, Gary Doyle, thank you. You know, we need to get Launchpad on this show. It sounds like they've done an amazing job for you.
They're in the office. I'll speak to them.
Please pass my regards, my respect, my love to them.
Fantastic.
Let's get them on the show. We need to hear a good news story. They've clearly helped you. They've clearly turned your life around. Gary Doyle, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you the very best in British. And I say to you once again, thank you for your service, sir. I sincerely mean that. Thank you. Let's get a quick reaction. Graham Stringer, you can't fail to be moved by stories like that.
No, I've got a number of Garys in my constituency who I see who come to my advice bureau. other people in similar situations who life has not gone the way they would want it to be, and they find that the homelessness service that used to be very good, they've been overwhelmed, and it's very difficult even to get temporary accommodation, and the idea of getting onto a council house list and actually achieving it is way in the future for. I mean, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I had an ex-professional footballer who was having to sleep in his car, and he couldn't get help. He'd come to see me at my surgery. So it's not just it's not just the Garys of this world. It's across the spectrum. If things go wrong, as they do in many people's lives, there aren't the support networks there that used to be there.
OK, thank you, Graham. So now we have a quick response from the government. They told GB News this: new council housing will not be used by asylum seekers in any circumstances. Well, this government will close every asylum hotel. Work is well underway, with military sites brought forward to ease pressure on communities and cut asylum costs.